episode 2 underway.
Right, so I've started stuttering, Chris.
What a start we're
What
off
a
to.
start. So this is episode, was it 2?
2.
Saying that as if
A lot to count through in it.
Aye, and this is episode 2 of the podcast, the Fuck It List. Is that what it's called?
The Fuck It List.
Fuck It List.
Fuck It List with Obie, officially.
With Obie. And well, Chris as well, Chris Penn as well, who's the kind of sidekick, or I don't know.
I believe executive producer is the title.
Is that you call yourself? As your host
/ co-host.
Co-host /
I am brew provider.
I am brew provider. All right, you're doing more for this relationship than me.
You never text first.
I don't, and I was late today as well. Anyway, so this is the last podcast. There's all
A 2-part series.
there's already a little bit of kink in the armour or falling out. So episode 2, and we've not got any plans this week. I know what's weird about it. You know, podcasts are different. I've always found that I've just started ranting on. I remember follow the thing. Follow us on Obie Comedian Fuck It List podcast. We're still working out all the social media and stuff like that.
Yep, again, I did that in the last episode that I've slightly edited so far, and I'll put all the things up on the screen.
So there'll be a channel for the podcast, plus I've got my own channel as well, so we'll put it up on that, and I've got my own podcast channel as well that I've done wee daft bits in my car. Right now I was finding there, I like to speak about what's on my mind. I like the idea of just going with what's going on in your head.
Aye, some of my favourite episodes of podcasts are like just random conversations that they come in, and a bit like today, we've got nothing planned. And
we've got nothing, and I kind of felt there when I started, I wasn't ready. No, I wasn't. You know what I mean? Do you ever get that? Like, and that's a good thing, and that's a good lesson in life, I think. These people, they don't do things because they don't feel ready.
Aye.
You ever heard that? Like, they have a plan and start a business, but I don't feel ready yet. Well, that's when you should do it because you don't feel like it.
Just jumping into cold water and just shocks you into it, and you.
Aye. Because I felt like that today, because I don't know if my mood was a wee bit low today or something like that. That sometimes happens. And I was like, on the way in the car, I was like, I don't feel as if I've got any part of the day. You know what I mean? I've got nothing, man. I've got to speak for an hour. I've got fuck all. I've got nothing here. And you're kind of sitting there and you're like, you're playing about your thing. And I'm like, I'm not ready for this. Because, you know, before a gig, see an actual gig, because I've got like a, what's the word? Procedure, not a procedure, a kind of
routine.
Routine. What is that? That's another word. You've got like
I know what you mean.
You got like a.
This is great content, isn't it?
You know what I mean? You know, right? Google words. You know, you've got like a routine. It's no routine. What's the word? It's a kind of a.
I know exactly what. I've got a.
If anybody knows the word I'm trying to think it,
let's Google it.
It's what's the word? You've got like a.
Ritual.
Hey! Fucking yes.
I didn't even Google it, by the way. It came to me.
I'm actually raging that you got it before me. Do you ever do that when your mates are trying to think you're into your music and you go, who sings that song? The one that goes do, and all night you can't get it. Then you wake up at 4 in the morning and you go, the Proclaimers.
And then you phone them.
I've got
it. So when you're watching a film and you're trying to get an actor and see if you get it without Googling it, you feel so good about yourself.
I know, but then you hate if your pal gets it before you. So I'm actually raging at you. I'm not going to. See,
this is the last episode.
I was already in a bad mood. I couldn't mind that word rituals. That cunt got it before me. It's meant to be my podcast, and the sidekicks fucking outdoing me.
The Fuck It List with Chris and
Chris. It's actually just Chris's Fuck It List now. so what I was saying there was, like, see before a gig, I don't know if you like this with music, Chris, so you got like a ritual to get yourself in the right frame of mind before you go on. Like maybe something you do unconsciously, you kind of are.
I do always get nervous before gigs, like regardless of the size of the audience. I'd say I do get more nervous if it's people I know.
Me as well, mate. Aye, totally.
Which I'd say most of my gigs do have at least some people I know. It's like just an event that you've sold tickets to your friends and family, and then I'm like, I'd actually just rather this was like strangers in a pub.
Aye, because your pals are more judgmental.
Aye. You definitely feel like they are anyway.
One of my worst ever early gigs was when all my pals were there. And because I don't know, it's music's different, because when you start comedy, it takes you a while to kind of get decent at it.
Aye.
Because you die in your arse quite a lot.
I mean, I've died on my arse musically plenty of times, to be fair. So.
Aye. And so I remember one of my first gigs, Latashi's in Glasgow. I don't know if you remember, I don't think it even exists anymore. And
I've not heard the name, no.
And it was maybe my 4th or 5th gig, and I think I'd done a couple that were alright. In my head they were alright, they're probably shite, but for a first act I thought I was doing alright, I was getting laughs, but you know, whether it was as good as I thought, I don't know, because I've seen new acts think they're doing well, but then in reality I go, what the fuck you doing? And so one night I brought a load of my mates with me, probably about 7 or 8 of them, and I was nervous as fuck, because I don't give a shit if it's strangers, but my mates were coming, and the way in the bus, my mate, Big John, gave me a bottle of Buckfast. And I hate Buckfast. It's one of the only drinks. Now there's certain drinks that turn you into a dick.
Yep.
You know, like, I'm a happy drunk.
Aye.
99% of the time, but there's like, I've drank whiskey before, I've drank Buckfast, and these two drinks, and I'm not a fighter, I never get to a fight, but know that kind of way you get
you get a bit angry.
You get a bit growly, the eyebrows scowl up, you go, what the fuck you looking at, you prick. You just get that. So I get Buckfast, and when I get into the gig, I wasn't on for ages. It was like an hour and a half before I was on.
Yep.
So I was at the bar. My pints were going down faster than usual because I was nervous. I had a few shots. The time I got on stage, I was on a pallet. So it was just a blue pallet was the stage, and I was shite. I was just being abusive. So I thought I was being like Frankie Boyle, but I was just being an abusive cunt.
Did you think it was like that? Have you seen the Bill Burr thing he did in Philadelphia? It's a famous bit.
Was it like a gong show thing he was doing? Was he getting heckled to fuck?
He was getting heckled to fuck, and then he turns it round on the audience and just starts ripping it out of Philadelphia.
Aye.
But it does it to the point where they actually like start loving it. Did you think that's what was happening?
Kind of as well. That probably happened well after this.
Aye.
But he done that because he's good.
You did that because you were pissed.
Aye. So he done that. That worked well because he's a good comedian.
Yeah.
When I'd done it, I was just a drunken, abusive cunt, and there wasn't any skill behind it. So you could get away with that with skill, but I was just rambling, and I had to go off stage because a big guy in the audience stood up and says, "Sit down, or I'll punch fuck out you." and you know what? Like it doesn't matter how many good gigs my mates have seen. That's the one they bring up.
Oh, absolutely.
You might have had a great gig there for at least 100 people here, but remember that time at Latashi's where we didn't want to speak to you again after that. So my point is, right, I went on to a ramble again.
Back to the ritual.
Aye, so when I first came in there, I didn't feel ready. And it was a kind of a lesson, I think. I think I've learned a lot for that. But I went into it anyway, and that's part of the fuck it thing.
Yes.
The idea
the
that
titular
fuck it is probably why I come up with that. Fuck it, just do it. Because I've got a kind of ritual before I go on stage. I kind of a pace a bit. So I pace a bit. I kind of just pace a bit. I don't talk to many people.
No, I'm the same. Before gigs, like if it's at all possible, I'd like to try and be myself. But obviously, in a lot of venues, you don't have like a private dressing room unless you're playing in like an arena. Which don't know about you, I've not.
No, neither have I, mate. Never done the Hydro a couple of times. So it's like you need to be in your own head.
Aye, but like a lot of my gigs, I'm like also doing the sound, and there's other people playing, and I'm trying to help them. And I don't have a minute to like get in my own head before I start, which in some ways it's maybe good that you can't get too worked up in your own head about it. But in other ways, I'm like, no, I'd like a wee minute just to like chill before I start. But even no matter how nervous I am before I start, I'm always within the first song. I'm like, oh, but this just feels natural, back to where I used to be. Do you know what I mean?
Yep, and I've got a ritual. So I pace about a bit, and what I do is sometimes if you're not in the right frame of mind, which I don't think I was at the start of this, I feel all right now.
That's us just past the first song. We're 9 minutes in already.
So the first. What I do is I actually visualise. I do visualisation shit, right? Mm-hmm. So I kind of visualise, not all the time, but if I'm not feeling it, if I'm feeling a kind of low kind of mood, I'll visualise a gig. I'll remember being in a gig where it went well.
Right.
So I'll kind of maybe kind of, I'll have a couple of minutes, I'll kind of close my eyes, so I'll change my posture, I'll kind of stand upright, I'll shake about a wee bit, and I'll kind of visualise a gig where I just was on good form.
Yeah.
So I'll visualise seeing the audience, hearing them laughing, remembering how I felt and what I seen, make the picture bigger and brighter. I do that in my head, and I hear all the laughing and all that, and it kind of recreates that.
Is it like try to channel the energy from that time that was good into to do the same this time?
And it's something that I do a lot, and for example, right, can you think of a time I don't know, right, can you think of a time when you felt brilliant?
When I felt brilliant.
It doesn't have to be a gig, it could be like a night out with your mates, your girlfriend, it could be like just a family thing.
Aye.
What have you got?
Just last time I was on holiday.
Right, where were you?
I was in Tenerife.
Aye. Just you and the missus?
Aye.
Right, so see just that, right, you notice just mentioning that, your mood goes up a wee bit.
Aye.
So that's what I do. So how can I
try to bring that to...
Aye, and I think it works in general for kind of mental health shit.
Aye, because a lot of people that, not to generalise, and I'm not a medical professional, let it be known, but...
Right, this is
this is the medical section
we
of the
are
podcast.
now become psychologists now, right?
Dr. Kris, this is my advice.
Aye.
No, but you know, a lot of people that might be depressed or whatever, they sort of wallow in it.
Aye.
Do you know what I mean? They might be sitting going, I'm miserable, I'm suffering for this, I've had to be off my work for this. But
especially working just back in the day.
Oof, aye. That'll make somebody mentally ill, won't it?
Aye.
I think, but like what you're saying, channeling the energy, in your case, try to channel positive energy.
Aye.
They're doing the same thing, but basically the opposite. Just remembering a shit time and just perpetuating that, and that becomes their everyday.
Exactly.
And they might have a shit stuff going on that they can't avoid, fair enough, but they're not helping themselves by bringing that.
And that's probably how I was feeling a bit dodgy just before I started.
Aye.
I'm not dodgy, just a wee bit kind of, you know, that kind of fuck. But then when I started thinking about it, you start thinking about good things. So you do get into a kind of cycle sometimes. And there's a thing where, like a great example, right? We're talking about Derren Brown now. Do you like Derren Brown?
Oh, aye.
Right. So I read his book years ago. I've read a lot of his stuff, and so there's a thing called a pattern interrupt.
Okay.
Right, which is it's amazing. Like we're talking about Derren Brown. I've not even said hello yet. Hello. So Derren Brown, and I've heard a few examples of this, and I've done them as well. Where so it's basically if somebody's in a certain frame of mind, you confuse the fuck out of them, and that stops their train of thought.
Aye.
Right. So for example, right, I'll give you an example of that. So he was walking. He said he was out years ago. He was doing a gig before he was famous, and he was walking along, and he seen a guy walking towards him, and the guy was angry, and you could tell somebody's just looking for a fight.
Yeah.
Like I think he'd been on the buck fast, and he was just angry. I think he'd fell out with his girlfriend, and Derren Brown at the time was dressed up. Well, like he was when it was quite early on. He dressed up with like, top and tails and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So imagine like you're in a rough place. Imagine who's walking about Cumbernauld, some Jakey, seeing Derren Brown walking about with this kind of fancy shit.
Looking
so
like
this
a vampire or something.
Aye, so this guy walked by me and went, "What the fuck are you looking at?" Or something. Like, I'm paraphrasing, but the guy was angry, looking for a fight.
Aye.
And so Derren Brown knew how this stuff worked, and he said something ridiculous. Like, just something he made up, like, says, do you remember this wall used to be bigger and it's smaller? It was just, there used to be budgies on it. Do you like cats? Just something totally ridiculous.
Aye.
And the guy, he was in this angry frame of mind, and he just caught the guy off guard. And the guy just got totally confused, didn't know what to do. And then Derren Brown, it's a kind of hypnotic thing, took him in a different direction.
Aye. I think I've seen him tell that story. I think it was on when he was on like Joe Rogan or something a few years ago. Because it rings a bell. But I remember talking about that, just saying something that sort of obscene and out of the blue to make somebody think, like, just try to rationalise that. They're like, there must be a reason he said that, and why can't I figure it out?
Aye, it just totally fucks up.
And brain. Then but that sort of can potentially get into their head and think, because it just reset their mood, because you're like, you kind of forget why you were in a mood.
Aye, and it's like So if you felt aggressive towards me, you'd either be expecting me to run away or a fight.
Yeah.
So you're expecting two outcomes. But
if you turn around and go, here's what cheese toasty.
I'd be like, what? and I'd done it myself. I'd done it one night because I'd read this. I was always fascinated with this stuff for years.
Aye.
And I remember being in, where was I? I was in the box, I think.
Oh, I like box.
Remember the box? It was either the box or Sleazy's, one of the two. They're next door to each other. And I was I was at a gig and I was there with another comedian. Will Setchell was his name. I don't know if he does comedy anymore. But we were just having a beer, and we ended up kind of talking to these girls, right? And there was nothing in it. We were just chatting to them. We're just kind of chatting to them, having a laugh, and that was it, right? And there was this wee guy, you know, these wee kind of small man syndrome guys. He had a bit of muscle,
right?
But he was a wee kind of growly guy, and he couldn't cope with the fact that I was talking to this girl. Right, because I don't know, I don't know why. And
Was he one of these ones with the skin tight t-shirts?
Aye. Do you know him?
I know a few of them. Aye.
So he's walking about, he was kind of growling at me, and I think he was talking to her earlier, but I was just chatting to her, having a laugh for the
sake of being a nice human.
Being a nice human, having a laugh. But he came up to me and said something. He went, "Who the fuck do you think you are? You're too old. You're old," because I was a bit older than this girl. For he's like, "You're an old cunt." And like, fucking, who do you think you are? You're just getting aggressive. And at that point, I looked at him, right? I looked at him and I done this. I smiled. I went, and I done that because I'd read this. And at that point, the wee guy, just his mind was blown and he fucked off. He genuinely just fucked off outside for a cigarette or something.
So it works.
Aye, but then he come back in later on and he apologised. I don't know what happened there, mate. I'm sorry. I've had a lot of shit going on in my life.
Interesting.
Aye.
I was expecting that to be like he came back in and he was all starting again, but no, you seemed to actually jar him enough to actually reconsider.
I just fucked his brain up. It was brilliant.
Excellent. I'm going to start trying
does that to you. Well, run away first. If it's a big guy, like run away. I'm not assuming like if you're in like the Russian mafia are chasing you, don't just go run like fuck.
Then from a distance offer him a cheese toastie.
Offer him a cheese toastie, a kitten. And there was another guy, right? I like another story. Sorry, I'm on a. There's a guy called Rintu Basu, right? Who I read like he was an NLP guy. You read NLP and stuff like that.
No, I know. As I said last week, my dad's kind of into that kind of stuff, so I've seen some of the stuff he's done.
So he wrote. The guy unfortunately died a couple of years ago. This guy, but he had a similar story. He read about this, and he's got a book as well. And I read it in that. And he had was in he stays in Glasgow, right? And one guy was trying to mug him.
Right.
So they threatened him. I don't know the full story, but they threatened him with a knife. They said, "Give me your fucking wallet. Just give me your wallet." So if somebody comes up, you give me your wallet. And so rather than, because he knew this stuff as well, and he went, "Thank God you're here. I've lost my wallet. Could you give me a hand to find it?" And so he had these two guys up and down the street looking for his wallet,
expecting that when they find it, they're going to fuck off.
Aye, and eventually they never found it. The guys went, "I saw it. Oh, thanks, lads. Sorry," and they just fucked off. So he just used that principle.
Yeah,
just totally confused the fuck out of them.
Because it's probably the last response they would expect.
Aye,
they would either expect to get the wallet and the guy runs away.
Aye,
or he tries to fight them.
Aye,
he wouldn't expect them to be like, "Oh, actually, see what you're here.
Can you help me find my wallet?" So they're doubly fucked. So they're confused and they think, "Oh, maybe if we find the wallet, then we've got the wallet."
Yeah.
So, but they don't find the wallet, and then they go, "Ah, fuck."
I like that.
They probably mugged some other poor bastard after that, right enough. But
somebody that doesn't know the tricks.
So it's good self-defense technique.
So that's your pre-show ritual. Then get yourself in the mind space of
a
good one.
I kind of, especially sometimes I don't need it because I feel like at the Edinburgh Festival, because I'm in the constant buzz of the 3 weeks, I'm all right.
Yeah.
But same as the day when I'm kind of feeling a bit, and I had to do a gig at night, I'll need like 10 minutes before it.
Aye.
So I can get myself from a bad mood into the right frame of mind within 10 minutes.
Yeah.
For a gig.
Then do you ever do it just in day-to-day life? If you just wake up with nothing to do one day and you feel a bit bleh.
Aye.
You do the same thing?
Aye. So I'm actually going to that's when we were talking about the Patreon thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm actually going to do a kind of online course on that to put on the Patreon at some stuff.
Cool.
So there's other stuff I do where and I used to do this because what you think about determines your mood. Mm-hmm. So I think there's three things. There's how you stand, like your physiology. So that's a lot of what you eat and all that affects that as well. So sometimes you eat loads of shite and you feel like shit the next day.
Not very well.
So maybe that's why I feel like shit today. I ate loads of shit yesterday. I just ate crisps all day yesterday. I was like, no wonder I'm in a bad mood. So your physiology, how you stand, right? So if you stand up straight, so if I'm, so, because you can tell if somebody's depressed and in a bad mood.
If they're all hunched over.
Hunched up, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if somebody's kind of...
You never see a depressed person with like this kind of posture, like marching around, looking at chairs.
I'm in a terrible mood. I'm going to jump off a bridge. See, you don't get that. So
that would be one of these obscene things you'd say to somebody. If they tried to stab you and you'd be like, well, I'm in a terrible mood anyway.
Stab away, go for the nipples, cut my nipples off. And there was a comedian years ago used to do it a bit that where somebody was threatening to fight him. And he said if somebody starts like give you a kicking, just start going, oh yes!
Harder!
Oh, do the face! Yes! I'm hard! You're going to make me come here! I mean, so just imagine somebody giving you a kick and you go, fucking hell, you just fuck off at you.
I would.
Oh yes, yes! Oh.
Another.
2 more times I'm going to come. Aye. So there is
your physiology.
I'll start doing that.
We're good at tangents on this podcast.
I know. Tangents are good. So there's a lot of things I do. So I remember years ago, I had let's see, about maybe 11 or 12 years ago, like I was skint. You ever go through stages of skint?
Yes.
We've been there, right? I was skint, and I was doing so I'd left I was working with the co-op.
Yep.
So that was my initial warehouse.
This is pre-gist.
Pre-gist, and it was there for like 6 years. They got a redundancy package. So they said you can either move to the new premises with us or take redundancy. And I went, fuck, give me the money. And it was like $7,000 or something. And I thought I was rich, but it only lasted a couple of months really. And so the year after that, I went to Australia that year. But then after a few months after that, I was a bit skint. And that was before I started the gist thing. I had to get job with gist because I was skint and I had to pay my mortgage. But I was working as a stock taker for a wee while.
Right.
And I was at skint. I was finishing in Glasgow and late on at night and I couldn't afford a taxi home. Right, so I had to walk home. Right, and I like to keep myself fit anyway, so I was walking home from Glasgow, which is like probably 2.5, 3 hours.
Yeah.
You know, maybe for 1 in the morning I was getting home and just walking home because I was just skint. So what I started doing, because I knew this stuff, I started going through just to keep my brain fucking occupied.
It's like before podcasts were a thing, you would just play one to yourself in your head.
Aye. So I used to go through the alphabet, and I think it's a good thing. Sometimes I do it before I go to bed. So you go through the alphabet and think of either good experiences, people, or just good things you can think of with each letter of the alphabet.
Aye.
And you just kind of, so you maybe go...
So the kind of game you play in the car, but just like, name a food. Then you go through the alphabet.
Aye.
Apples, bananas, carrots.
Aye.
But with good experiences.
Aye. So it could be like people, you know, so A, like, it could be like somebody, you know, for the past.
Ainsley,
there you go. So then B, and it surprises you if you go through the whole alphabet. There is actually, because sometimes you get cunts in your head.
Aye.
You ever get? I remember just we used to have get home.
Oh yes.
You'd have like cunts in your head. The bosses playing in your head. Like, you get home at night, you're in a bad mood because could you hear that cunt shouting? So this is like a pattern interrupt. So instead of doing that, you go through the alphabet. And when you're doing that, you can't think about the bad people. So you go through the people in your head and just imagine the times you spent with them.
Yeah.
You know, so A, B, and you could do it with places as well. So I would go A, I'd go Australia. So I've been there twice. I just imagine the good times I had in Australia.
Yep.
B, maybe Benidorm. I was there with my mate Sticky Vicky and all that. You know Sticky Vicky, you heard of her?
I've heard of her, I've not seen her.
Yeah, don't Google Sticky Vicky, it's not worth it. C would be Corfu, 94, then you just do it. And I used to do that just walking home.
Aye.
Just go through my head and it surprised you.
Then would you try and do it? Could you go through like one time and then try and do it again, naming different ones?
Aye. And it's amazing how many. And you can also, it doesn't have to be memories. You can use you can maybe like do things that you've not done.
You do like films you like, starting with.
You can do what you want. You know, or what I used to do, I kind of maybe have ambitions of things that I've not done, but I would like to do.
Yep.
You know, and
a fuck it list.
Aye, aye, aye. And there is about the fuck it list. We need to talk about the fuck it list as well. So
at some point.
At some point.
We're already halfway through episode 2. One day we'll talk about the fuck it list
Aye.
on the Fuck It List podcast.
We will. So it's good. It's just, and I think it was good that I wasn't in a good mood at the start of this. That now I've been reminded of that, because sometimes you forget because you get in a cycle. And then the pattern interrupt was being in the bad mood and then being forced. You forced me at gunpoint.
I push this big red button and then it needs to. You need to turn it on.
I need to turn on. It's like that, because it's like sometimes at a gig you're like, fuck, I can't be arsed with this.
Aye.
But then you go, hey, Mr. Happy. But then you forget you were in a bad mood by the end of the gig. You go.
Or it could go the other way and you could turn out like the Joker. You seen the last Joker film?
Aye.
And he's like just a comedian having a shit time.
Oh,
and
aye.
that just turns into murdering people, you know.
Aye, well, that could happen as well.
But he obviously never materialised the good memories. He just wallowed in the bad ones.
Oh, he wallowed in the bad. It was a good movie. The second one's coming out apparently.
Oh, I looking forward to that. I've not actually seen the newest Batman one. I don't think they're related. Like that Joker film and the new Batman.
No.
But I've not seen the new Batman.
Is that one filmed in Glasgow or something?
Aye, the Robert Pattinson one. There was bits of it filmed in Glasgow.
I've not watched that. I'm not a big movie buff. I like movies, but I'm not like a mad geek on it.
I can't remember if we talked about it last week or if it was. I think we did, but it wasn't on the podcast. I've like notoriously not seen loads of classic films.
Yep. Like what have you not seen?
Like,
what's your favourite films you've not seen?
I've never seen The Godfather.
We actually spoke about that last week either.
I've never seen.
It insists upon itself. It's a Family Guy clip.
I've watched a lot of Family
Guy.
Aye. Not seen The Godfather. I've not seen the likes of Pulp Fiction.
Oh, that's a good movie. I've seen that.
Oh, that must be bad for me. What else? I've not seen The Sixth Sense.
Oh, that's good.
I know the twist, so that's been ruined. Fight Club.
I've seen that.
Nah.
So you're worse than me. I thought you'd have been more of a geek than me.
I mean, geek wise, like I've seen your Star Warsy stuff.
So have you seen all the Star Wars?
Yes.
See, I've not. I think I've seen the first 3. Well, the original 3.
Aye, the 70s,
80s ones.
Yeah.
70s, 80s. And I think I've seen some of the other ones, but I can't really remember. How many is there now?
Well, there's now 9 of like the main, what they call the Skywalker saga.
Aye.
And then there's a few extra ones now. There was like Rogue One, which was like a sort of prequel about a wee group of rogues. There's the Han Solo movie,
right,
which is like a prequel at Han Solo's early backstory type thing. What else? I think there may be another one now. I maybe haven't seen them all now because they've been churning them out. But and then there's the series as well.
There's a series as well.
The Mandalorian, that's excellent.
What's that?
It's just a story about a Mandalorian. So you know Boba Fett from the original film.
What one's he against?
He's see this shot glass. This guy.
Aye. I don't know who he is. Like he's like a bad guy, but isn't
he? He's a bounty hunter.
Right.
So I mean, yeah, he does like capture and kill people, but just a job in it.
So that's just a job, innit? That's what the Nazis said. I'm just following orders, mate. That's fine.
Just a job.
Just a job. Killing cunts.
Well, the story, the series of the Mandalorian is excellent. That's where the wee Baby Yoda guy that you see all the memes and that of.
Aye,
that's where he's from.
So is that on Disney or something?
Aye.
Right. So that's the series?
Yep.
Is that good?
That is excellent.
Is it?
You don't even need to have necessarily seen any Star Wars stuff because it doesn't particularly tie in with too much of the.
So I take it this is like the timeline is kind of when Yoda was away.
But it's not actually Baby Yoda. They just call him that. It's the same species as him.
Right.
You do find out his name later on. I won't ruin it. But people just called him that when this show first came out.
Right.
Because they just saw a wee baby version of Yoda.
All right.
But it's not actually him. They just call him that.
All right. So see is Yoda, the actual Yoda, is he the last?
It's never really mentioned. It's whatever the species is called. I don't even know if it has a name in this. I'm not that into my geeky stuff that I know all the things. But what I do know is that his species hadn't really been talked about too much within the films and even going into all the books and whatnot.
Aye.
It was always quite a mysterious thing, so you never really knew if he was the last one.
All right. As you don't see hundreds of Yodas running about, do you?
No, I think in the Clone Wars films, the ones that came out in the early 2000s.
Aye.
Like in Attack of the Clones, I think episode 2. I think there might have been one other of that species that you saw on the Jedi Council or something.
Like his bird. Did he have a bird?
I don't know if he had a bird. I don't think he had any offspring.
Was Yoda a wee virgin then, was he?
He seems the type. He was like a wee monk type thing, wasn't he?
Aye.
But yeah, he was always like dead frail, walking about, and then
then he'd batter fuck out.
then he'd like whip his lightsaber out and he's flipping all over the place. And I'm like, if you can do that, why is he hobbling about? I think he's just trying to get like a disabled parking badge or something.
So he's parking. I think he's probably getting some extra money for the brew.
Aye.
Probably getting disability allowance.
Classic benefit scrounger.
Aye. So you've heard it here first. Yoda is a benefit cheat.
Yep. It's like when they would come to his door, he'd be like flipping about with your lightsaber in the house and all that. And then they'd ring his doorbell.
That sounded a bit of porno in there, doesn't it?
It's like that guy getting battered in the streets of Glasgow. Harder.
All right, I heard that a bit earlier. So I think like Yoda, the thing is, he would still get his disability allowance because he would try to cancel it, but then because he's got the Force, he's like, these are not the gyros you're trying to cancel or something. No, he would be like kind of turn it around, wouldn't he? Because you couldn't go to the dole office and say to Yoda, "I'm going to stop your money," because he'd be able to use the Force.
That's potentially the main benefit of having Jedi mind powers.
Aye, and you could just get to the bank and just withdraw. I'm going to sneeze.
Oh.
I thought I was going to lose that there. That would have been horrible. Maybe that's how I was in a bad mood. I think I lost a sneeze yesterday.
There is potentially nothing worse.
I was like, it's away. Your eyes start watering and all that, and then it's gone.
You just feel like you've wasted a bit of your day.
I know, you've wasted like 10 seconds of your day, just no sneezing.
Could have been spent doing much more useful stuff.
But then what?
Ooh. Editing the podcast.
Aye, well, you've not done yet, have you?
I've not really, no. I've been busy, been working away.
Aye. Then his job, like Chris has got another job.
His mystical job.
He's too ashamed to admit it.
I told you last week, I'm a CCTV engineer.
So, of course, a CCTV engineer, he's a grass.
It's true.
Maybe we'll mention it one day, right?
I'll tell you on the Patreon. £10 a month. Go.
£10 a month. That's good.
No, well, the more of you that start paying for the Patreon, the sooner I can stop doing that job. So.
Once we get that happening.
Right, so we got from pre-show ritual, positive mindset, Yoda.
Oh, the plan. This is exactly what we had planned for this episode.
I've got all my notes. I've got all my notes here. We're on track. 32 minutes. Yoda. We're bang on.
Aye, and I think definitely planned. What's next then?
Next
is this the awkward silence bit? There's always an awkward silence.
There's an awkward silence, and do you know what? I slightly edited it last week. I didn't get rid of it. I just made the silence shorter.
But don't leave it,
so
man.
You just see me going, so we'll cut out this silence, but there was just a slightly less silence.
But awkward silences are good. See if you're comfortable with somebody and you have an awkward silence.
I mean, when you're recording a podcast,
I think
the main medium is the audio of it, and there's an awkward silence. People might be driving along thinking, "Oh, it's the Bluetooth disconnected."
No, but what we're going to do is for the next half hour, it's going to be like the meditation part of the podcast. So we're just going to get people to think, just gonna imagine what we're saying.
Yeah, what we were saying about just picture a time that you enjoyed, that you were happy. Try and materialise those feelings. All right, we'll speak to you next week. Cheers.
So for the next half hour, just visualise half an hour of a podcast that you enjoyed, and just visualise it and pretend it's our podcast, right? Right.
That was my favourite episode.
What was?
The one I watched.
All right, what did you watch?
Last week's episode of this.
Oh, did you? Did you actually watch it? Right. So what we talked about? We're talking about Yoda rituals, feeling good, and another. What else did I do? Right. So here's the thing I do as well. Right. So this is stuff that I do to make myself feel good.
Mm-hmm.
Breathing.
I breathe. Regularly.
But just breathing kind of deeply.
Yeah.
Deep breathing.
Do you have any particular? I've seen various sort of breathing patterns people talk about, like, breathe in for 4 seconds, hold it for what is it? There's one that's numbers. I forget. It's like the 4-5-7 or something. 4-3-7.
Something like that.
It's like, so you breathe in for 4, then you hold it for whatever, and then
You hold it for an hour and breathe out for 2 days.
I was actually thinking about this the other day. Like, I had a wee break in between some shifts. I was working away. I was staying in a hotel, and I had like a night shift the night before.
Aye.
I had to get up early to get out of my hotel, drive to my next hotel, and I had like an hour just to chill before I'd go back out and work.
Living the dream, eh?
Yep. Notice no podcast editing time in there.
Loads of time.
So, but actually, this just came to mind. Like, again, it's a lot of stuff that my dad talks about. He's into all the breathing stuff.
Aye.
And I didn't remember the numbers and I didn't bother Googling them, but I just figured in the ballpark, I'll try it. And I sat for a wee bit and I breathed in. I think I was doing in for 4, hold, or in for 5, hold for 4, out for 6. I don't know.
Aye.
Somewhere around that. And you know, I did feel quite good. Literally, I sat there for maybe about 10 minutes. Just sort of, I think mainly the thing is focusing on the numbers, focusing on counting, because it just draws your focus away from the shit that you're stressed on.
The shit you're thinking about. And I don't think you need to focus too much on the number, just the breathing, just the fact that, because when you're feeling kind of stressed, you're kind of breathing shallow.
Yeah.
Because you don't breathe, you don't notice it, but you're not really, you're kind of, but just, even sometimes a couple of deep breaths.
Yep.
And the thing I do, right, this is a mad thing I do, right, because it's like, see your focus, like if you're thinking on something that's pissing you off, that you feel like shit, right?
Yep.
So think about where your focus goes. Like sometimes you get scatterbrain focus, but it's all over the place.
Yeah, but you should be picking one thing.
Aye.
Whether it's work, you need to think on, this thing to do in an hour.
And then you can focus on your breathing. And this is what I do sometimes, right? And I don't know if this is mental or no. There's sometimes you ever do things you think this is mental, right? So if I'm sitting kind of feeling my breathing, right? So say sitting breathing, or just try to kind of feel good, right? I'll breathe, right? I'll maybe think of something. I'll maybe do the alphabet thing first that I was talking about earlier.
Yep.
And that gets you kind of feeling good anyway. But then what I can do is I can maybe sit there and you feel all right now, don't you?
Feel good, yeah.
So what I would do is I'd kind of maybe breathe and I'd maybe, even if I don't, I know you feel kind of numb sometimes. You feel kind of numb
after all the crisps.
So I'll kind of breathe and I'll think of just kind of focus on my body. Kind of maybe scan yourself.
Yep.
You kind of scan yourself and find somewhere that feels good.
Okay.
Right. So it could just be like a wee point somewhere. You got it somewhere.
It's going to seem weird, but my right wrist feels pretty good at the moment.
Right. I
don't know why, I swear.
This is meant to be a wanking podcast. Right. So I get it there, right? Sometimes, right?
Okay.
So I can right. So what I do is I can breathe and I think of a place that feels good. But you notice if you focus on that, it spreads.
Yeah.
Right, so you can focus on that feeling good, because you maybe feel like you've got a sore shoulder, right? If you focus on that, fucking sore shoulder. If you focus on that, you kind of forget about the foot. So you focus on the good bit, then I notice that it spreads, and then it maybe goes to my legs. You go, fucking hell, my legs feel good now.
Aye.
So if you focus on your wrist feeling good, you'll notice that it maybe goes somewhere else after that.
Interesting. It's like that. Have you seen the experiments they've done with Wim Hof, where he can, like, they'll inject him with some kind of
I was E. coli, I think he done. Aye.
And like through his breathing, that kind of stuff, he was able to like focus his immune system to like the physical location where they've injected him with this.
Right.
And within about, I'm going to say 30 minutes to an hour, he was able to like fight this off.
That's fascinating, isn't it? It's fascinating.
All through the breath. The breath stuff he's done is insane.
That's brilliant. It's brilliant.
When you were talking about breathing, I read a book a while ago called The Oxygen Advantage. You read that?
I don't think I've read that one.
I can't remember who it's by. I'll find it. But
I Google it.
That one. Aye. It's about a lot of it's to do with breathing through your nose rather than your mouth.
I'm shit at breathing through my nose.
Well, you should read this. It's quite interesting how much more sort of advantage and oxygen you get into your bloodstream by breathing through your nose compared to through your mouth.
Aye.
And then there's other stuff about how people use the methods in this book to basically when they're, training, say for a marathon.
Aye. I'm on my training now for my running, mate.
Are you?
Aye.
Oh, you should definitely read this. Sorry, I'm just now learning it's hard to type and talk at the same
Aye,
time.
multitasking.
Right, the oxygen advantage. Here we go. By
So imagine you are playing the guitar and talking at the same time and typing.
I mean, I can guitar and sing at the same time.
I see. That's aye.
I think typing's the. I mean, I also play drums, so I'm actually quite good with having two hands doing something, 2 feet doing something, and singing at the same time.
I see. Did you find that difficult when you started? Or?
It came quite naturally to me. There's some stuff that's like when you start doing more advanced stuff with your left foot, because a lot of times the left foot when you're playing drums doesn't even necessarily need to be doing anything, but you'll just kind of naturally be bouncing it along. But then if you start playing with like double kick pedals and stuff, it starts getting a bit more advanced. Then you add singing in. Anyway, we're talking about the oxygen advantage.
Oh, aye. We're going to singing again.
Right, it's called The Oxygen Advantage by Patrick McKeown.
Right. Paddy
McKeown. Do you know him?
No. I think I've heard of the name of the book before, but I've never actually. I don't think I've read it.
When I say I read it, I think I had it on headphones over a few nights while I was like falling asleep. So it's probably like subliminally in there somewhere. I don't remember too much of it, to be honest. But it's quite interesting that there's these methods that people use to effectively, when they're running, make it as if they're running at high altitude. Right. So you know the guys that always do well in marathons, like Kenyan guys and that.
Oh, they're phenomenal, aren't they?
And it's because they're training in the Kenyan high up in the mountains. And there's
so there's less oxygen.
Thinner oxygen. So when they come down to normal level that we're at, they're getting a big advantage because they're getting more oxygen and their body's used to working with less.
I've seen them. I've seen that. I've done the Edinburgh Marathon a few times.
All right.
And there's a point where
I can't think of anywhere worse to run. Do you need to go up and down all the hills?
No, it's actually
it's
actually one of the flattest there is. Because you kind of run from the city centre of Edinburgh down
along Princess Street and that.
No, you go down Musselburgh direction.
Okay.
So you kind of go out and so it's actually apparently I think the first 8 miles is kind of a downhill. Right. So you're running for you kind of set off where do we set off? The kind of university building, the TV.
All right, okay.
So you set off for there and it's downhill. So the first 8 miles is fairly. So it's actually one of the flattest, apparently.
I didn't actually think there would be 8 miles of coherent downhill.
I don't know. I don't know if it's you know what I mean.
No, it's just very gradual. But in Edinburgh, I would just expect that everything's either straight down, straight up.
If you're in the centre of Edinburgh, it's a bit like that. But it's more or less downhill and it's fairly flat. So you kind of run away out. You come back along the beach and you finish in Musselburgh Racecourse.
Okay, yeah.
What was I talking about? So I see that. So I remember. So there's a point where like you pass runners coming the other way. So you're going out. You go out and you turn at one point.
Right.
So there's a point where you pass the winners, the front runners. Right. You see these Kenyan guys just sprinting. They're sprinting for like 26 miles.
You seen that?
And if I'd done that for like a minute, I'd be fucked.
What's that guy's name that done the? He was going for the sub 2 hour marathon. Is it Kipchoge?
I can't remember.
My mum was watching a load of stuff about him a while ago, and I remember they would just watch. I think it was the Imola F1 track. No, Monza in Italy.
Right.
Where they did it because they were looking for a kind of flat location.
They done it. He beat it unofficially. They saw an official record because he had pacemakers and stuff.
They had like a car in front with like a laser they had to follow. It had guys in front of him for like aerodynamic advantage. And then he was wearing mad shoes. Like, I know you can legally wear them in the thing, but like I saw something the other day that somebody had done a marathon and
there's a guy
just over.
There's a guy done under well, it was 2 hours and 50 or 40 seconds or something.
I saw that. Because then it kind of reminded me and I went back and watched some of that stuff.
So somebody will beat 2 hours officially at some point.
Yeah.
It won't be me.
You never know.
Never know. Next year. So I'm doing the marathon next year. I've done 5. Hard to believe.
5? I don't know if I've walked the equivalent of a marathon this year.
I've done 5 and I've actually been training recently quite a lot because I shamed myself.
Okay.
Because I done the marathon this year, but it was my worst time ever.
What was your best? My
best time is 4 hours 12.
Okay.
So it was like 14 years ago.
You're only 2 hours off the Kenyans.
Aye, it's not for me. That's pretty good. I'm quite happy with that. I'd like to beat 4 hours, but this year I was 6 hours 27 minutes. So that's a terrible time, and it was a lot of walking, and I hit the wall about 3 miles. because I just hadn't trained, because I signed up for it and I almost pulled out, but I thought, you know what, it was like a challenge. I thought, fuck it, I'm going to do it.
Titular.
That's another thing.
Bucket list.
I wanted to see if I could do it without the training. Although I didn't run a lot yet. I mean, the first half I ran a lot yet, but then the second half I was walking because I was fucked.
Yeah.
And there's a bus of shame that picks people up if they go over, if they're slower than 6.5 hours.
Bus of shame.
So I just about beat the bus of shame. It's not officially called that, but there's a bus that picks up slow runners.
But within the circle, it is called the bus of shame.
And me, so my challenge this year was to beat the bus of shame, and next year I'd like to beat my 4 hours.
Okay.
But I need to, I've been training a lot the last few months. It was Edinburgh Festival kind of fucked up a wee bit because I was drinking for a month, but...
No, I mean, you'll be shocked by looking at me. I don't do the running stuff.
I'm sure we'll get you out.
There was a period over the last couple of years I got quite into squash. You ever play squash?
I've played before, not for years though. I probably played it about 5 times.
Aye. No, I got into it and played it quite regularly.
Come on, old TV.
The Trice. Aye. But again, I keep using work as an excuse for a lot of things, like why I'm not doing my music.
I know it's a shite excuse. Paying bills is a pain in the arse.
It is. But it's also my excuse as to why I've actually done really well with my fitness stuff. Like for about 6 months up until when lockdown hit, I was doing really well. I'd lost like 3.5 stone.
Aye.
And I was getting as much into the routine with eating well as much as I was working out and stuff. Come lockdown, everything went to shit, as it did with everyone.
Aye.
And then since then, I've kind of been on and off and blaming it on work.
You got to use something. It's tough, innit? Like, I'm the same because I'm not heavy now, but I was losing a wee bit of weight. The running's helping, but I'm eating shit.
Aye.
I've been through stages that I was eating quite well. I'm like 13 stone, which it doesn't sound a lot for me though. I was always like 11 stone. I was always like 10.5 to 11 stone for years.
Yeah.
And I think the last few years I've been over 13 stone, which is for me is like fucking, that's heavy. And I don't think it is that heavy, but just for me, that's quite.
Aye. No, I don't know I know there's a chart of your BMI and what you're meant to be per.
Aye. I think my BMI is higher than it should be at the moment.
Yeah, I think mine is too.
Aye.
I mean, we've done no bad. 47 minutes.
Aye.
Mainly talking about how we weren't ready to start.
Aye. I'm not ready, so we'll start now.
Aye, 47 minutes in. Welcome to episode 2.
As episode 2, so we're going to have guests on as well.
Right, have you got any in mind? Have you spoken to anyone yet?
I've not spoke to anybody because I've been using excuses like yourself. I've done
bloody work in the way I get work.
Thing is, I've hardly worked the last month.
Getting yourself a wee post fringe break.
Aye, because I made all right money in the fringe. It's running out now right enough, so I've not worked, and I've just been fucking doing nothing. So this is good. That's because we saw today. I was out yesterday. I was in Glasgow.
Aye.
Was the drinking? I've drank once since August.
Aye. I drank yesterday.
Did you? Aye.
One of those weeks I just had to.
Aye. So what was I saying there? I can't remember. I was on a tangent there and then I forgot.
You hadn't worked.
Aye, I've not worked. Aye, so I've not worked much because I've not had to. But then I don't. I need to get out and work again. But I'm in a kind of thing now where you say work holds you back.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm on the verge of going fuck it, and I've done it a few times over the years. See, just giving up work for a while and focusing on my comedy and doing well. But there's always that fear of having to pay my mortgage. It draws me back in again.
I'd like the option of see if I could have like a year sabbatical or something.
Aye.
Because I don't want to just quit.
Aye.
But I'd like to take a year holiday to just take a year and do what I want.
Do your music.
And ideally the plan would be in that year to build up doing music or a podcast or whatever to the point where I don't actually need to go back to the job. Aye. But it's there as something to fall back on, do you know what I mean?
I see, I don't like that fall back on thing. I think we have got it, but that's sometimes the kind of safety net stops you going ball deep.
No, I get that. That's like, that got thrown down your neck in school for us when it was like going to uni, like you need to go to uni, you need to go and do this.
Aye.
And then like I was right into my music in school. I left school to do music at college, and that was just always a thing. Like, oh, I want to go and pursue music, and like certain teachers or family, whatever, be like, well, you need something more secure to fall back on. And I'm like, but
it's annoying, isn't it?
If you've got that, it makes you more likely to use it.
Aye. So, did you study music at school, uni?
So I intended to go and do a degree in music. I did the first year of that, which got me an HNC.
Right.
After that year, I just kind of realised I didn't really enjoy the course. There was a lot in it that I just didn't find particularly either relevant or enjoyable.
Right. So you'd actually be better just going doing gigs instead.
That was the exact plan. After my first year, I was like, I'm actually going to go and get a job and just gig myself at the weekend. You know, I've already got decent contacts in the industry and stuff. So I went and got my first warehouse job in Asda.
Yes.
Pre-Gist.
Warehouse. Where was that?
That was in Falkirk.
Falkirk, yes.
So the problem with that was it was back shift every weekend. Prime gigging time.
Fuck that.
So every Friday, Saturday, Sunday I was working like 2 in the afternoon till 12 at night or whatever. Aye. So you're not going to gig at that. I only lasted 3 months in there because it was, you won't believe this, more depressing of a warehouse than Gist.
Was it shit?
Aye.
It's good we can slag off warehouses now because we don't work one anymore.
We're better than warehouses. But I went straight for there to Gist. Right. And I went there because there was quite a lot of my pals or guys that I went to school with that worked in that one, and I knew them.
Right.
And as much as it was technically the same job, I enjoyed it more because I knew the people, the guys I got on with. It was also like just up the hill from my house. I didn't need to drive 20 minutes every day.
So it suited me just because it was like
a the 0 hour contract. Part of it also suited in terms of gigging.
Aye, because I've not had a full time job for about 12 years, like an actual full time job, because of my comedy. Because I couldn't do it. Somebody says like you can get a full time job.
Yeah.
Because I worked with Gist, which was 0 hour contract. So that was good because I could fuck off. Because there's a lot of times during it where I've been skint and fell behind your mortgage and stuff, but there's no way I could do a full time job because it just scares me.
Aye.
Because see if I had to say see if I got a knockback for a holiday to go and do the festival, I'd be like, fuck this, I'm not doing it then.
Aye.
I'm stick your job up your ass. I need to go because I couldn't not do the festival.
I've heard numerous comedians talking about that on podcasts. Like,
aye.
I'm sure some Laugh Boys were talking about that.
Oh, there he's plugging other podcasts. That's all right.
Get them on as guests.
Aye, I'm sure they'll do it at some point.
So like Mark used to work in Asda.
Right.
He had a story about like he had to get time off for a gig or whatever, they wouldn't give him it, and then he told them that his uncle had died.
Aye.
And to like make it believable, he came in his next shift like in a suit, as if he'd just been to the funeral that morning.
Aye, brilliant. I might have seen that, aye.
And then I think it was like a similar thing with Stephen. He worked in the co-op, I think he had a similar story. You were actually talking last week about Darren Connell. I've just started listening to his podcast this week.
Aye.
And I've listened to pretty much that and only that this week.
Right, aye.
I'm really enjoying it.
Because he does a lot of them on his own, doesn't he?
Aye, well, just him, a bit like us, him and his producer, Paul.
Paul,
They just sit and talk a bit of nonsense like this. But he had a similar thing when he left Asda. When his boss was like, "Where are you going?" He was like, "Hollywood."
He's like, "Fuck it, aye." Because a lot of people they don't take you seriously. They kind of go, "I'm doing gigs and what you doing." I remember like years ago, I was doing a gig. I think I've had 35 jobs at least.
Aye.
I tried to count them one day and I think I've probably missed a few.
I think I've had 4.
Right, 4.
2 of which were warehouse.
Right. So I was working in IBM in Greenock.
Right.
Right, years ago, so I was driving, it was like 12-hour shifts, I think it was over Christmas or something. And I was working out there, and I remember I was fairly new.
We have a guest.
At comedy. Hello there, we've got a guest. It was fairly new at comedy. Come in. This is Ainsley. Hi, Ainsley. I've just met. Hi.
That one's at your
back. You're in front of you. I see. Right. So what was I saying? Ainsley's interrupted me. I don't know what I was saying there now. So what was I saying? I was working at IBM. I was working at IBM. It was a shitty job. It was an easy job, but it was like miles away. And I remember, you know how workmates they don't understand that you do other stuff.
Aye.
And I went, so it was a 12-hour shift, and I was like, I had to get away early or something. I went because I was going to do this stand in Edinburgh, right? And I was going to do 5 minutes. And I said to them, I need to get away early. And they went, are you getting paid for it? And they went, no. Because that's what you do when you start doing comedy. You do like loads of open mic gigs. It's how you learn. And they couldn't understand the fact that I was driving all the way to Edinburgh to do a gig for fuck all.
5-minute spot.
I was like, that's what you need to do.
Aye.
And they go, are you mental?
That can be the same in music. You just do a gig you're not getting paid for. But
Aye, because you've got loads of open mic gigs as well, don't you?
Open mic, so you get the shitty promoters that'll get you on for exposure.
Oh, fucking exposure, aye.
Correct.
Exactly. Hello, is that Accord Mortgages? I can't. I've done 2 cracking gigs this month, and there was 100 people there. So the exposure was. Did you take exposure?
I've been exposed.
Aye, and then now all of a sudden you're on the street, with a tin. Can I get some exposure to buy a sandwich, please?
Oh dear.
Fucking exposure. Do you get exposure as well? For music, aye. Oh, it's full of problems. It'll get you some exposure.
We've done some exposure gigs in our time.
I suppose this podcast is kind of an exposure as well, but we've chose to do it.
Aye. It's not like somebody's booked us and said, you can have the honour of playing on this stage.
Aye, that's what exposure. They say, innit? And you get like charity gigs. Nothing wrong with doing charity gigs. Like I do some of them as well. But sometimes you go to a charity gig and you look at everybody's getting paid, right? Most charities will give you something. I done one a few weeks ago and I got a wee envelope with something that I was like, that's cool, that's fine. But you go to a charity gig and you go, right, the performers don't get paid, but then you look, you've got the bar staff, the door staff, fucking everybody in the building's getting paid apart from the guys that have actually brought the punters in.
Because they're doing it out of the goodness of their charitable hearts.
Aye, but the bar staff, what about them? You do a shift for free? Like, fuck off. Imagine we worked in Gist and says we're going to do a charity shift today. Imagine like the boss phone up. I says, do you want to come in? Like pair temps phone up. Do you want to come in, boys? We're doing we're raising money for children in need. We need you to do a 12-hour shift for nothing.
Go and lift these totties. That's what the Christmas shift felt like. See when you signed up for that like Christmas bonus overtime shit.
The turkeys and all that.
Aye. And you would like 6 o'clock in the morning till 6 at night.
Living
like through all of December.
And you never seen any daylight.
No.
Like you got there in the morning, it was dark, and you left, it was dark.
And you were working in a fridge.
Sometimes the freezer. My favourite, actually, one of my favourite Christmas memories. We're at minute 57. This could be the closer to the episode. Right.
But there's a wee guy. I'll bleep his name, right? Hold on. There's the bleep.
Was that a bleep thing you've got there? Cunt bastard fuck, right?
Oh, there we go. Right, do you remember a wee guy called that worked in
the
warehouse?
We could do a full episode on.
So when we were doing like the process of the turkeys at Christmas in the warehouse was a bit different. Instead of
you could fuck it up quite easily because it was like every turkey was for a specific customer.
Aye, so like when you go to M&S at Christmas and people would book their specific turkey they want. And
they wanted the name. I want a turkey called George.
Yes, and they're picking it up at this store on the 23rd of December.
Aye.
So it was like all those custom
orders. And they picked
orders.
how it got strangled and all that, how it got killed.
Aye, the colour of the rope that went around its neck.
I want it killed in front of his family. I went too far now.
So we had to pick all these custom orders. And it's not just like, most times it's just like you're sending this many of this product to this store, but this one it was like, no, this exact one is going to this exact person.
Yep. It's going to a specific store and all that.
So this wee guy, on the first time we
What's
ever
his name
did
again?
He, within about half an hour, had fucked up, I'm going to say 50 families' Christmases.
Oh, aye. They had like, chicken that year, didn't they?
I think they were in vegetable pies or something. I see him occasionally. He cuts round about here. I run into him. We did see him at the bus stop.
He's hanging about.
And I think
he followed me in. He's out there.
I told you this story. I think when we ran into him when we were out for a walk one day, just about all the Christmases he's ruined.
But they fix it. They fix it, but it takes about. So if you fuck up in that job, you take about half hour to fuck up, and then it takes about 2 hours to fix everything to get it back.
But what was good about that was it wasn't monitored by the headsets like everything else was. So in a normal shift, it's like you pick a pallet of however many products,
talk to the headset, man.
and you need to tell the headset like the product code, how many of it you've got, and then you walk around the warehouse and it will tell you to stop at the store number.
You're basically a cyborg, aren't you?
Aye, and it would just be like 1, and you'd need to put one thing down and go 1, and that was 8 hours of your day just talking to this wee headset.
See, I'm getting depressed thinking about this. I started off in a bad mood. I got myself in a good mood, and now
we've come full circle, and we're 59 minutes in. That's us.
And now you're talking about the warehouse again, and it puts you in a bad mood.
But yeah, I quite like at Christmas time just remembering back to this wee guy fucking up all the family's Christmases and just thinking about them all sitting round the table crying, just eating like pieces and ham.
Pieces and ham. No, but we've done ham as well, but so we probably fucked up the ham as well.
Pieces and what was meant to be ham, but ended up being like
cranberry juice.
Cranberry juice.
A piece in cranberry juice. Is that a thing? That's a
This is going to be excellent listening. Us having a conversation with somebody that's not on a mic.
I know. So you can say hello. Stick your head in. Come on, stick your head in. Right, fair enough.
Okay, any closing remarks? That's us hit the hour.
I don't know, because I don't know. That was all right.
Part of me feels like we haven't started.
No, which is a good thing.
We've chatted for an hour.
So we're still. So this is an hour. We've got an audience now. So we've built an audience of one. Right. So we started off last week with nobody. Just me and Chris, and now we've got an audience of one. So
do you think this is going to turn into like a live studio audience, like recording Friends or something?
Possibly.
I mean, we're pretty much done.
So we've got one audience, and now she's like unsubscribed. He's got the unsubscribe. So basically, we're still working it out, the podcast, which is good. And so that's how we started. The idea of the fuck it list thing was to do something before you're ready, right? So we could have said today that because it became a day we didn't really have anything.
Nah.
So you messaged me yesterday, go, you do the podcast, so I've not really got much to talk about, but I thought, fuck it, let's go and do it, see what happens. And we didn't feel ready, but we've done an hour, we've got some stuff out of that.
Yeah.
So if there's something, I don't know, if there's something this is getting philosophical now. If there's something you want to do, you don't feel ready, just go and fucking do it, whether you feel ready or not. Just say fuck it and go and do it. Right.
Inspirational words.
Inspirational, right?
Remember to follow us on all the things.
Follow us. You'll do the technical stuff and put a list of the stuff, but follow us on all the things: Patreon, Facebook, Instagram, MySpace, and all that. Bebo. Letter. We'll send you a letter. No, we won't.
No. Right. See you next week. Thank you.
See you later. Cheers.